Is there a best place to inject? Is there one place that's better than another? Well, we're going to talk about that. What's up to your community? Let's help each other. So you've clicked on this because you want to know where is the best place to inject your testosterone replacement therapy. And hey, listen, if you are just now getting on, if this is your first time to be on this channel, welcome. It will be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular guest with us. So if you don't mind, listen, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any videos. All right. What type of injector you are will actually depend on where you inject. But is there a best place to inject? Is there one place that's better than another? Well, we're going to talk about that. So first of all, you have to realize that there's actually two camps when it comes to injectors. There are those of us that are the IMs and the sub-Qs. What does that mean? If you're new to TRT and if you're new to injecting, you're going to hear some lingo thrown around and some short ways of saying what we mean. So let's first talk about the IM. What's that about? All right, so the first one that we have is called intramuscular. Intra meaning within, and then of course muscular meaning muscle. So inside the muscle, that's what we mean when we talk about these as an IM, intramuscular. The next one is going to be subcutaneous. Subcutaneous. A lot of people call this sub-Q. Where that comes from is of course the sub here, and then the CU, they just turn that into a Q because it makes that sound. By the way, if you're wanting to know kind of where this comes from, of course you know sub means below. The Latin word for skin, well, one of the Latin words for skin is the word cutis, and so that's where this comes from, if you were wondering. When it comes to this topic, I actually went ahead and did a little bit of recon and tried to figure out what you people are like before I even made this video. So I did a poll and 115 participated in that, so thank you for your help. As you'll see in that poll, 13% of us inject in the shoulder. That would be an intramuscular because that's inside the muscle. 30% of us inject in our thigh. 44%, these are the winners, and I'm actually in this group. We inject in the glutes, or some people call that a hip injection. Now here come our sub-Q people. 7% are our subcutaneous injectors, and then the 6% was other. And if you want to know what the other is, the only other person I've talked to that wasn't either a shoulder, a thigh, or a glute, or a sub-Q, I got a comment from somebody else that told me he actually injected in his pectoral muscles, in his chest. So, I don't know, that dude must be like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. So, more power to you, homie. But that's the only other muscle that I've heard of people injecting in. Have you heard of any others? Leave it in a comment below if you have. That would be helpful for all of us. Alright, so let's talk about each of these different places that we can inject on our bodies, because listen, the goal is just to get the testosterone into our body so that it can fill up what's lacking. That's why we call it testosterone replacement therapy. We're trying to replace what used to be there that our body is no longer making on its own anymore, so we now have to replace it with synthetic testosterone. We gotta get it into our bodies to make it work. You can't drink it, unfortunately. We've got to inject it. And so, well, there is the cream as well, I guess, right? Maybe that's some of the other that was down there is the androgel and the creams and things like that. But you didn't click on this because you're using androgel. You clicked on this more than likely because you're injecting and you want to know what the best place is. Let's first talk about the shoulder. What's the pros and cons to injecting in the shoulder? Is there a pro and con? All right, pro would be convenience. It's just right there. Also, a pro would be you can use a smaller needle in that it doesn't have to go as deep into the muscle because there's just not a lot of fat right there between the skin and the muscle. I mean, it's pretty much right there, depending on, you know, how lean you are, but still, most of us don't hold a ton of fat in our shoulders anyway. I've also heard this, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys who do shoulder injections, you don't have to aspirate, do you, for your a shoulder muscle injection? If you don't know what aspirating is when you put the needle into the muscle, and then you pull back on the needle a little bit while it's in your muscle, and you'll see a little bubble form right there in that little clear spot of the needle. If you ever see blood come there, the reason why we do this is because we're trying to make sure we didn't inject into a capillary. This has happened to me once. I went to pull back, went to aspirate, and instead of a bubble coming back in, which means, yeah, you got the green light, go ahead and inject, blood came in. I injected into a capillary, and so then you abort mission, and then you re-inject into a different spot that's close by that one. Next, let's talk about you guys who inject into your thighs. What's a pro of that? Well, a pro of that is just, again, it's just right there. It's very convenient. You can just sit down and boom, right into your thigh. Aspirating would be very easy as well, because there's also not a lot of fat between your skin and your muscle right there. You really don't have to have a very long needle for that either. Now, what about the group that I'm in? I'm in the glute group, and I've always been in the glute group. There's only one other time that I've done a different kind of injection, and that was a sub-Q injection. I tried it once, even made a video about it. You can go see that if you want. I can leave a link. I might even just put it at the end of the video, actually. I started out doing the hip injections, and I've just stuck with them. They are working for me, and so why not just keep going with it, right? Let me get focused on my face here. There we go. So when it comes to my glute injections, I used to go back and forth between one side to the next, one side to the next, and one side to the next, one side. Then I just found that one side ended up working better for me, so I just stuck with that side and just kept using that side for a long time. Then guess what, guys? That side kept causing me problems. After about a year of doing it just on my right side, I believe it was, yeah, I just noticed I kept having a little more pain than I usually am supposed to have. I would have a little more blood than I used to get. And so, guys, then I switched over to my left glute and started doing it there, and then that started working better for me. So you're not really bound to any one of these ways once you do it. Try out different forms of the intramusculars and see if one works better for you than another. That's my advice. And also, when it comes to the glute, I would say maybe a con of the glute would be that some of us have a bit harder time just reaching back there and doing that. It's just a little bit harder for us. A pro of the glute would be, it's a big old muscle back there, okay? Some of ours are bigger than others. There's a lot of surface area to hit it right. There are a lot of videos on YouTube about how to do each of these injections properly. So go search around and find those as well too, okay? Make sure you're doing it right when you do it in those locations. All right, next, let's talk about our sub-Q guys. You guys are kind of a minority, but what I've heard is that your group is growing because some people back in the day thought that you could not inject TRT subcutaneous. It had to be intramuscular. But some people are realizing and telling me and learning, and I guess it's true because a lot of people have been doing it and it works. Basically, you get an insulin needle. That's one of the pros for doing the sub-Q is you get one of those tiny little needles. There's hardly any pain at all. And then you inject it into that fatty portion of your stomach there, and boom, you're done. However, it's not so much boom, you're done. I would say a con of the sub-Q is that since it's such a tiny little needle, it takes longer to inject it. Man, I'm having to press hard because this, as I mentioned earlier, this stuff's thick and oily.
1 hour later.
Goodness, this is taking forever. I'm gonna have to change my grip here.
1 eternity later.
And, you know, it didn't go bad. It really didn't. It just took a long time. I've gotten some hints from you guys that said you warm yours up with a hairdryer first before you inject it, and that helps it go in a bit quicker because it's warmer. But hey, virtually any pain at all, I mean, virtually no pain rather at all, and then right there at your stomach, super convenient. Which one is the best? Here's the one that's the best. The one that works the best for you. That's the one that is the best. Whatever works best for you. And if you're new to this, try a few different places out. Or if you were like me, you try out your glute and that just works, so you just stick with it. whatever works for you, whatever's getting the medicine into your body, convenient, not too much trouble for you, not too much pain, that's the way that's best. And that's what you need to do, because we're just trying to get this stuff into our bodies just so that we can live normally once again, so we can feel like ourselves once again, have proper energy levels, have proper motivation, have proper moods, have our libido be normal once again, just all these things. We just want to feel like ourselves again. And so we just got to get this stuff into our body. And so get it into your body in the way that's best for you. I hope that helps, guys. And if you're wondering if your testosterone is low, maybe you've never checked it, you can click right up there. There's a review I did on an at-home testing kit if you're curious as to whether or not yours is low. I love you. Thanks for watching. God bless. Peace.